Hi there, Jason Miller here. It's January 14th, 2022, and I got a really exciting video for you today. I've never worked so hard preparing a video, and the reason is because I'm probably one of the best people around anywhere to do this video for you. It's just, because of my, I'm not bragging when I say that, I'd rather be, an expert at like football and be like Tom Brady or Tiger Woods or someone, really cool. Unfortunately, my big skill is bitching about movies. Because, as I've probably told you, I'm a professional filmmaker, and, I've got about 30,000 hours of experience. A lot of that's just screening, but, I also worked in the business for about 12 years and, did everything from the bottom up, all the way from, producer assistant to second assistant to director, and acting and writing and directing and producing, and so I'm a little embarrassed about how emotional I am about this video, but it is just what it is. So let's get into it. So this is my video channel called The Truth and Stuff. I'm kind of proud of that title, and so I think I'm gonna title this video, "Is Dexter Really Dead?" Or I might title it the best analysis of Dexter that you'll find, or something along those lines. I might put this one on YouTube, so I'm going to try not to cuss, although I do think I'm going to say some words that will probably get me booted from YouTube, so maybe I won't even bother. One of those terms is trauma-based mind control. Yes, YouTube will censor you for saying that word, those words. Apparently they don't want you to know what that is. Anyways, but this video is about the Dexter character, the 9 seasons of Dexter, and especially the finale. And I will answer the question, is Dexter dead? Yes, it appears he's dead. But there is a caveat at the end. There could be, I don't think they'll bring him back to life, but what they could do is maybe have a couple of prequel type episodes that they shot and plan to release. Like they're in the can already and they have some plan to release. Anyways, I'll get to that because I think that's pretty interesting. This will be also a heavy review on the new final season called New Blood, and its finale, because I think it's important. There's some important stuff in here. Some of this, I've scalped from other videos I've seen. Ideas not very much. Most of all this is my own. Some of it you'll have heard, but a lot of it you won't hear anywhere else. And that's because of who I am, because of, my obsession with film and my expertise in the subject. But I will get into all that right now. So, again, I'm a little embarrassed about how emotional I am about the finale, and just how terrible I thought it was, how badly they blew it. I will give a little disclaimer on that at the end, because I think there is a possibility of recompense, but I seriously doubt it will happen. We shall see. But Dexter has long been my favorite ever show, and motion pictures have long been my passion and my profession. So I'm not going to beat myself up too much about being too emotionally invested in what is just a television show and a fictional character. But it's such a fun and interesting show. It's so dichotic. It's so well constructed. The character is so, rich and, it just has, he deals with so much adversity, and not just the storyline, but his character arc, he's just so tormented, and he's got so much potential and life in him, but so, yeah, as far as I'm aware of, Dexter's probably the most manipulative and, sneakily manipulative. You don't even realize you're being manipulated by this show that's ever been. I've made comparisons from Dexter to the Shawshank Redemption, which I have a video about. It's one of my first videos you should check out because it's pretty interesting. I've gotten a lot better at doing videos since then. But yeah, I think Dexter goes even way beyond Shawshank in terms of manipulating the audience. And the character himself is actually super manipulated. But so to start with, I'm just going to drop the biggest secret about the Dexter show. And I've done another video on this that you can check out. I think it was the one right before this. But yeah, so this is the biggest secret and the most misunderstood aspect of the Dexter character right here. So many fans of the show buy the manipulation that Dexter is a psychopath or a sociopath when he is not. Okay, Dexter feels and exhibits the full range of human emotions all throughout the show, and according to the DSM-5, that makes it impossible for him to be antisocial personality. He was constantly upset, elated, angry, sad, regretful, frustrated, loving, hateful, or had a scowl or a smile plastered ear to ear. Clearly an emotional and empathetic guy. Much more so even than most people, in my opinion. So yeah, nothing could be more clear that Dexter hadn't felt and expressed human emotions the entire series, yet so many fans of the show managed to miss this undeniable fact. We all have a dark passenger. That's just anger, and violence. It's in us all. And evil is inside all of us too. To deny that is to deny reality. Dexter was a lot like all of us. The difference is his dark passenger was exploited from a young age. I'm not going to get a lot into this again because I have a video that already explains it, but what Dexter really is a victim, not just of a violent past as a child, but also trauma-based mind control at the hands of his stepfather, the justice-obsessed cop, Harry Morgan, and the psychiatrist that Harry employed, who further brainwashed him with neuro-linguistic programming. Okay? So what they simply did is convince him he is a killer and then trained him to be a vigilante assassin. Everything they taught him was to be the most effective killer of killers. And as such, he is easily one of the most prolific vigilante assassins in the history of television. Easily. I can't even think of anyone that comes close. James Bond, maybe? Maybe. Not even, though. James Bond didn't kill as many bad guys as Dexter did. He may have, solved a lot bigger problems and, saved masses of people. And but one at a time, Dexter killed hundreds, of bad guys. But, yeah, and by the process of convincing Dexter that he is a psychopath, during the course of the show, the filmmakers, or who I like to call the modern dark wizards were able also to convince most of the audience that he was a psychopath too. But that's just not the case, and I find that absolutely fascinating. But not surprising, okay? Some of these filmmakers and media people truly are the modern day masters of manipulation and masters of make-believe after all, okay? And they are extremely proficient at it. They constantly fool so many of the weak-minded and highly intelligent alike. And that is the biggest secret of Dexter that I've been able to uncover, and I'm sure it is the biggest secret about Dexter there is, because what could be bigger, right? I mean, he's not a psychopath. He's just a trained killer, you know, who grew up hard and stuff, but he's got all the emotions he needs, you know, so if he'd have been grown up different, he would have been different. But yeah, that's all for now. Again, I do have a previous video on that topic concerning Dexter, so please do check it out if you'd like. So for a lot of people, and I'm going to get into why I think that people like the show now, okay? I've got a number of good topics here. Please get to the end, because that's where the best stuff comes, okay? That's where my breakdown of New Blood comes. But so for a lot of people, I think the reason they like Dexter so much is because of how mixed our emotions are about him. He's a serial killer, right? A monster. But he primarily only kills killers. So he's a vigilante. So really what he fits the definition of is a hero. I just do not understand people who do not see it that way. I mean, he wasn't a Gandhi type of hero, right? But he was a hero nonetheless. Okay? Even all of our superheroes do pretty much the same thing he did. They kill killers. That's what most all heroes do in our stories. And, you know, Dexter wasn't perfect by any means. In fact, he was seriously flawed, like seriously. And he caused a lot of damage for people too. And he's a lunatic. I mean, come on, just crazy. But you know, so too are a lot of us. We're flawed. You know, we cause a lot of damage, you know. And some of us, frankly, are lunatics as well. But yeah, Dexter made his share of mistakes, but you know, it's mistakes that make us human, and then having to endure through those mistakes. And I really think that that's, you know, why we like Dexter so much, because, you know, it's not just Dexter's character that experiences such conflict during the show, but it's also us to a great degree, because of our flaws, you know, and our adversity. But and I personally think that's what made the story of Dexter so brilliant and relatable and likable and intriguing. Another thing I'd point out is that the correlation with Dexter and one of the oldest and greatest stories ever written. It's so old, we don't even know how old it is. And it's so wonderful, such a wonderful story. And that story is Beowulf. Okay, hopefully you've heard the story of Beowulf. If you haven't, read it. Or, you know, there's a movie, it's a cartoon, it's actually pretty good too. But the whole story revolves around the idea of the sins of the father, which I really love. I just love that theme. You know, I think that most people, most boys anyway, we deal with that aspect. We want to be better than our fathers. We want to be just like our fathers. We wish we could be as good as our fathers. You know, and sometimes we deal with their sins, right? And our children deal with our sins. And it's just a very, you know, it's absolutely genius stuff. And that's what they titled the finale of the show with, was Sins of the Father. So that becomes pretty clear there. So let's get into the finale, okay? I certainly don't need a happily ever after, right? But it's very hard for me to believe that anyone who is at all emotionally invested in the character and the show could think that Harrison shooting Dexter through the heart like that was a decent ending. I mean, you know, to me, it was just absolute lazy, terrible writing trash. Like the ending like the ending or not, one thing most people can agree on is that the show had a bunch of terrible loose ends and unanswered questions. A little bit of that is fine, but to the level this new blood season has it is really not acceptable at all. The writing in most of the previous seasons, I feel, was really quite brilliant, which is why I'm having such a hard time understanding how New Blood could have been so insanely bad. And I was destroyed by how terrible the finale was. Really, the whole New Blood season was bad. What I think happened is pretty simple, and this is important. We have this one life to live, you know, and as I've said before, I've directed, written scripts, produced $1 million feature films, okay? Done it all and done pretty well. Even so, a guy like me cannot even come close to relating to a guy like Michael Hall, or Michael C. Hall or something, who is the actor that played Dexter, okay? You know, he's the star of the most watched and beloved program in Showtime's history. My favorite show of all time. And I've watched everything, you know. And I've watched everything several times. Everything that's anything, I've seen it. And Dexter takes the cake for me, at least the first 8 seasons. But yeah, so, you know, Michael is a superstar, really, right? And I'll always appreciate his work in the original series. But becoming the star that he has become very pretentious. These stars are so catered to, so praised, worshipped almost. And when that happens, they can easily and completely lose touch. And that's pretty clearly what happened with New Blood. You know, he even admitted himself the only reason he took the role was because Dexter was going to die. And he wanted Dexter to die so he could quiet the noise of questions about the sequel. This right here is an LA Times article where he admits that he was so excited about Dexter dying because he was sick of questions about the show. We'll get more into that here in a minute. But so that in itself is super selfish, right? Wanting to kill one of the most beloved characters in television history just so he didn't have to answer questions is terrible. I don't accept that Dexter had to die for the show to end. I don't think that's the best ending. For me, him living off somewhere, doing what he does is a much better ending. But fine, okay? It's certainly Michael Hall's life to live. He can do whatever he wants, same as anyone else. And, Dexter dying is apparently the only way he would do the show. And so that is that, and really it's not a terrible idea for Dexter to die in the end. We all die in the end. And I can accept that. However, if they were going to kill Dexter, they had every reason to make the final season absolutely epic. Okay? He should have gone out Taxi Driver style, or Scarface, or, Scarface style with say hello to my little friend, and, or like The Gladiator or Braveheart, or something huge and unforgettable. Not by being shot in the heart with one little bullet by that unlikable little twerp of a son of his. It was time to pull out all the stops for Dexter Season 9. Okay? Give the fans and the show and the character the ending that they deserved. Go out right, something that would be universally loved. Michael Hall is a decent actor, okay, but it is actually Dexter that made Michael C. Hall and not the other way around. Okay? I mean, it's hard to picture Dexter as anybody else, but other people could have pulled that off, and it has still been a great show. And you may never have heard of Michael C. Hall if some other actor had done that. So it's sad that he didn't appreciate it more. So yeah, it would have been nice to see him give the show the respect it deserved, but at this point, it's pretty clear that he did not. Don't think for a second they didn't have every capability of doing the show right, okay? Focus groups, top writers, top talent, top, camera people, top directors, all well within their ability. In honor of how great a success the show was, it should have been top of the line through and through. It just wasn't, not even close. Instead, Michael C. Hall apparently thought it was also time that he should be some kind of writer. So he contributed to the writing of the project. Well, by doing that, in any case, it got ruined. It really did. That's clear. And so, I think for that we have the right to complain, especially about Mr. Hall. Maybe the showrunners were past their prime. They were bullied by Mr. Hall, who is needed, obviously, to do more Dexter. So he probably got whatever he wanted in his contract, and inexplicably got to try his hand as a writer in this farewell sixth season, and of course, typical Hollywood sequel crap where, they just cash in. They did it for themselves, not for the fans or to honor the show. I mean, just look at the cast. I love Jessica Jones, and the actor that played Kurt was great, but, let's face it, they're not exactly A-listers, I mean, they're good enough, but, can't you just, it's the final season. They knew that. They knew they weren't going to do more, so why not do it upright for the fans, right? It's just very, very telling about how they approached the whole thing, and it's really disappointing. And even with the low rent way they handled it, it still became the most watched show in Showtime history. And here's a Yahoo article from Yahoo Daily News. Dexter New Blood is now the most watched series in Showtime history. And they blew that ending, In fact, it's the finale of season 9 is the lowest rated show out of any show of all 9 seasons. That's how bad it is. And here, here's a Daily Wire article that says, Dexter fans were apprehensive yet hopeful about the series reboot, Dexter New Blood. Fans hated the Dexter New Blood finale. Give it worst rating of the franchise on IMDb. Isn't that incredible? And this is pretty interesting. I'm part of a Facebook group called, I think it's called Dexter New Blood, and it's just a fan group. I got banned from that today, and I'll get to that in a second, but I just put up a poll, and I said, did you hate, like, love, or dislike the Dexter finale? And this was like at 1:40 p.m. today, Mountain Time. 173 votes hated it, 67 votes liked it, 43 loved it, and 21 disliked it. So that's basically like 200 to 100. So, 2 times as many people at least didn't like the show. And in fact, 173, more people hated it than anything else, by far. That's insanely bad for the season finale, or the series finale of the most watched show in the network's history. That's how bad it was. And I'm going to get to why here in a minute, or why I think, the different possibilities. So yeah, to me, it's just so beyond bizarre how the filmmakers could have blown that season and the finale so completely. It's like dropping the ball on the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl with seconds left on the clock and losing. I mean, that's really exactly what it's like. And that kind of intense stink of a terrible review on a finale like that can tend to stick to people in Hollywood. And I hope it does for what they did to Dexter, and I hope they're, just pooping bricks right now. And, maybe they miss out on some work or something, because, man, it's just so terrible. There's so many people that are so upset about how the show ended, and I'm one of them. I'm super upset. I just couldn't believe the ending, and the whole season was just so bad. It's easily the worst season by twice than any other season. And the finale, it's almost like you couldn't have done worse. But anyways, so here we go. So I'm more of a 35,000 foot view person, right? Minute dissection of details is not my forte. Though I think minute details can be extremely important, I think it's more important to extrapolate what they mean, to the whole, opposed to becoming polarized by them, right? And so, that said, I am going to go over a couple of details of the finale that I think are really important, okay? So, to start with, I hated that Dexter had been abstaining from his real work for the past 10 years, okay? The best part of the season 8 finale, to me, was the idea that Dexter was out there doing his vigilante thing and keeping the streets clean, okay? I just think that's a great ending. Just the idea of where's Dexter? What's he doing? That's a great ending to me, okay? Some people didn't like it. They felt it was super open-ended, And I think those are people that are really just butthurt that the show's over, which I can understand, but I'm also a filmmaker. Stories have to end, right? You got to move on at some point, and I understood that. But, this is why we love Dexter, and what drove the character in the show for 8 seasons was his work, his vigilante justice that he dispenses on all the bad people, right? And so anyways, at the beginning of season 9, they tell us, well, he hasn't killed anybody in 10 years. It's like, what? If you weren't going to kill anybody for 10 years, why didn't you just keep your son? Wasn't that the whole point of getting rid of your son? But I knew after 10 years, right, he was going to be a different guy, right? Which is fine. But, to turn the most prolific vigilante assassin in TV history into a basic Joe Schmo who simply eats steak and drives a truck around and dates the sheriff and, works at a sporting goods store, to me, and that's basically all he was, and that, to me, is just awful. That's just an awful beginning to the series. But fine, that's the way it was. I was okay, it's like, all right, fine. Dexter's just a regular dude now, I guess, so let's go, let's see what they got. And, But another thing I found very unbelievable about the series, or the new the new season, New Blood, was that Dexter was unable to identify Kurt as the huge serial killer that he was the entire time Dexter was living in the small town, okay? Not only that, but he was dating the sheriff. Pretty sheriff lady, a wonderful actress, but that, you know, he was dating her and she was obsessed with solving this crime of the missing girls who Kurt was causing to go missing by murdering them. And Dexter apparently didn't get any hint of that until the beginning of the season, like few episodes in, right? Or, you know, several episodes in. He'd been in Iron Lake for years, years in the small town, and he didn't recognize this, you know, this guy when, you know, Dexter is like the bloodhound of all bloodhounds. You know, he instantly recognizes these people, usually, okay? You know, ever since season 1, anyway. But yeah, I just found that super stupid. I really liked the idea of Deborah as the ghost at first, you know. I thought that was a cool idea. It's like, okay, Harry's no longer there, but now we got Deborah. This could be interesting, you know. But, you know, but basically she was a one-note character, you know. All she did to Dexter the whole season was bitch at him. Well, yeah, you can imagine Deborah bitching at you. Well, that got old and annoying. And, you know, that's basically she didn't add anything else to the show. So that's it. That's my review of her character. She bitched at Dexter the whole time. That's it. So I have a soft spot in my heart for Jessica Jones. Okay, I think she's beautiful and wonderful. I worked with her before on a movie I produced and worked very hard on, and she's just a lovely person and very good actress, very good actress, but you know, just delightful. But you know, and like most of the actors in New Blood, I thought she did great with the writing she had to work with. Unfortunately, the writing for her character was not good. I couldn't stand, the main thing I couldn't stand is how unappreciative she was to Dexter, who was like her lover and her man and all that, when he, you know, when he helped her solve her huge missing case, missing, you know, all the missing girls that she was so obsessed with for basically her whole adult life. She was obsessed with this case, and Dexter helped her solve it, and she didn't seem to give a crap. But, you know, Dexter also led her to Kurt's crypt full of dead girls. I don't know how many dead girls there was, at least 30 in there, 30 or 40, something like that, you know, including like all the girls that she was missing, and she just didn't give a shit. But yeah, so, I mean, she, you know, she just turned, and then of course she also got Dexter, right? The Bay Harbor Butcher. All in the course of like 3 episodes or something, she did all that. She solved like the 2 biggest serial killer cases in, you know, the country's history in like 2 days, you know, or 2 weeks or whatever it was. And, you know, a little podunk sheriff out in Iron Lake, small town, and, you know, and she did, you know, she did that with Dexter's help, and a ridiculous happenstance running into Batista, which was the stupidest thing I've maybe ever seen. And then, of course, you know, her Google machine she got in her computer. There was a lot better ways for Dexter to go down and you know, for that character to be handled, I thought, but it didn't, so that's just the way it goes. I thought the actor of Harrison, Dexter's son, did okay, but not great. You know, he's decent, but not a particularly strong actor, I didn't think. You know, first of all, he didn't look much like the offspring of Dexter and Rita to me. I mean, he had bright blue eyes, which irritated me right away because Dexter's eyes are so dark and Rita's eyes were pretty dark. They were like a dark greenish, you know. And, you know, I just, I have a hard time, you know, kind of encapsulating exactly how I feel about Harrison. I just know he wasn't likable. He irritated me, you know. He was super whiny and confused the whole time, back and forth emotionally. You know, it just felt very forced and thematic and one speed, bitch, bitch, bitch. And then in episode 9, him and Dexter finally connected, which we'd been waiting for the entire season. And in the last 10 minutes of episode 10, he shoots Dexter through the heart, straight-faced, and drives off with no to little emotion whatsoever. Just shoots his dad and drives off. I mean, that was the end, basically. You know, Harrison shoots his dad and drives off. That's the big finale ending of the Dexter show. I just couldn't believe it. What a lackluster ending and disappointing way for our hero to die, you know. Yeah, I just find it so stupid. I can't even fathom it. It's, but I will add one caveat here, okay? To be fair, we actually have little idea who Harrison is, okay? I'm toying with the idea that Harrison was actually trained by Hannah to be an assassin himself, okay? So he's got his own code, and he was there with ulterior motives. And the wounded baby bird, you know, kind of, and persona and the stories that he told were just an act to vet Dexter as a target. Okay, that's one thing I'm toying with, and I'm hoping that that's the case, because otherwise this season is so milquetoast, bare bones stupid, nothing clever about it, that, you know, I really hope something like that comes out, but we'll see, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, one of the stupidest explanations I've heard about the ending is that Harrison had to kill Dexter to have a normal life, okay? I mean, to me, that is just like the most utterly awful and shocking explanation imaginable. I mean, that by shooting his own father through the heart, he can have a normal life? In what world is killing your own father normal? That's not normal. I don't care if he's Dexter and Harrison or who they are. That's not normal. You don't have a normal life after you shoot your father through the heart. That's not the way it works. But yeah, I mean, that'll tear your soul apart like nothing else ever will or could, you know. So yeah, let's keep going. So there's a billionaire oil guy who was really just the most weakest attempt at a red herring you've ever seen, okay? Kurt was so obviously the big bad guy of the show. I recognized him right away. Everybody should have recognized him in short time, you know. But anyways, yeah, they just inserted this billionaire guy to get in a couple of jabs for the climate change narrative and how, you know, capitalists are bad, right? Really, really stupid. So I thought Kurt was the big bad guy, and I thought he was actually a really good bad guy, okay? Maybe the best part of the New Blood season. He was likable, but also super creepy, and you know, his room where he kept the girls and watched them on the camera was really scary. I was scared by that. I mean, it was super creepy. You know, his backstory was good. He was also sometimes steps ahead of Dexter without Dexter knowing it, and I thought that was clever. That was really pretty scary, you know, and that's, I got that from another guy's video. I didn't put that one together myself. I heard that from some other critique on YouTube, but I thought that was cool. So, you know, and that hadn't happened since the ice truck killer, who was Dexter's brother in season 1. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the character of Kurt, and I don't have anything to complain about, really. Nothing. But, you know, so whoever that, I'm sorry I don't know the actor's name, but he's the big guy in New Blood, and he owns a number of stores around town, I think, and, you know, the diner where he picks up a lot of his girls that he murders and sticks in the crypt. Super creepy. So Logan, to me, is the guy that Dexter broke his neck, the black cop. You know, he was really milquetoast, likable, but very one-dimensional. You know, there's some interesting theories about Logan, since he was kind of raised up by Kurt and Matt, that he was also a wrestling coach, that he was actually in on some of Kurt's murders. And so his outward persona, that likable persona, was really just a well-crafted act, which of course many psychopaths do put on an act that makes them very likable. And so I do like that theory quite a bit, but obviously I don't know. Dexter snapping his neck in the last 20 minutes of the show was a shock. I mean, everybody, you know, it has to admit that. A lot of people are saying Dexter had to die after this because he broke his code. But that's total horse crap, because, you know, Dexter had broken his code many, many times. So that really doesn't change anything. In fact, you know, yeah, Dexter's a different guy now. He hadn't been killing anyone for 10 years. So doesn't that break the code too? He's supposed to kill people. That's part of his code. I'll admit it was out of character for Dexter. And, you know, in fact, you know, because Logan wasn't innocent. At least that's the way we see him depicted on the screen. There's no doubt about that. And I don't know if Dexter's killed anybody quite so innocent. You know, never a cop. I mean, it was out of character. And so, you know, in fact, in a post-interview, the filmmakers said that after they shot the scene, they too decided that it was out of Dexter's character for him to do that. So they tried to rectify it with a sound effect of making the sound of his neck breaking and the gunshot happen at the exact same time to make it look like an accident. Like Dexter reacted on accident to the gunshot and snapped his neck on accident. I mean, that's pretty stupid, right? And you can tell they tried to do that if you watch it carefully, but it didn't work. Everyone I've heard from thinks that Dexter killed Logan on purpose to escape because he was being super selfish, and, you know, that's the way they shot it, and that's the way it came across. You know, which actually doesn't make sense either, because Dexter simply could have choked him out, like he has done with so many people before on the show when he couldn't use his needle. That was almost one of Dexter's signature moves, right? So why didn't he just choke out Logan? The nice cop, right? I mean, it is super out of Dexter's character, and, you know. But whatever. So, you know, again, you know, I think that that's just further explanation and further proof of how poorly thought out the writing and production of the New Blood season was. Unless there's some information coming out later or something. So Batista, okay? Batista's role is probably the weakest writing I have ever seen in my life. It is like grade school terrible stuff. You know, the forced way that Angela just happens to meet him at the conference, and how he just happened to sit right next to her and bring up Harrison and Dexter. Just absolutely lazy, absolutely inorganic, and, you know, just, you know, as soon as I saw it, the whole time I was watching it, you know, it was Batista, and I'm like, wow, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It was my first thought to my head. How does, you know, this sheriff run into Batista, who's a retired homicide detective in, you know, and was Dexter's like closest colleague, who the sheriff is now dating Dexter. you know, and then he just brings up Dexter and Harrison randomly. It's so stupid. And you know, of course, the fact that they ended the show, when they ended the show, they had Dexter or Batista rolling in to confront Dexter about being the Bay Harbor Butcher. You know, these characters had so much past together, so much left, to conclude their character arcs, and you know, to simply leave that open end is such a slap in the face to the fans. I cannot even begin to describe it. Batista was a great character in the original series, but in New Blood, he was the most short-sighted and useless character imaginable. There was no point unless you want to piss off your audience. You know, why dangle that in front of people if, you know, you're not going to give it to them? And why make it so forced? You know, they could have done that 100 different ways better. Yeah, so Batista, I mean, it just goes to show how short-sighted it was. Again, unless they give us some more information coming up. So, you know, I could go on for weeks pointing out stupid details in New Blood. If I sat and we went through the seasons together, I would go, that's stupid, that's stupid, that's stupid during every show. What is that? That sucks. And you know, during the entire previous 8 seasons, I might have done that a handful of times. Okay? But in New Blood, you do it basically every episode. And, you know, ending with the big stupidest thing you've ever seen in the very last finale in the very end. And so, you know, so I think this brings us to our most important questions, okay? How could the filmmakers not know what a disaster New Blood was going to be? Or did they know, okay? Did they deliberately sabotage this show? So that leaves us with 3 possibilities I can see. Either the filmmakers were truly just clueless and past their prime and careless and selfish and you know, just too egotistical with the most beloved show in the network's history. Okay, so I think that's possible. You know, people are human, they get older, they're imperfect, they get carried away with themselves, and perhaps they just fucked it up. Apologize for my cussing. I think that's one possibility. In fact, that's the way it seems right now. Okay? So the option number 2 is they deliberately sabotaged the show. They deliberately, which means they made it bad on purpose. Okay, they, you know, for reasons I have a hell of a lot of trouble understanding, but you know, one reason I can think of is that maybe Showtime didn't treat them right. You know, maybe Showtime didn't pay them what they thought they should make, and they were pissed about that, and they were like, okay, we'll give you a show, you know. Maybe. Is that possible? It's possible that they put out a shitty show on purpose. I don't think that does them any good in the end, because again, you know, that kind of sticks to you in Hollywood, and they might not get jobs because of that. Honestly, like some of those actors, like Michael C. Hall, boy, he's gonna have some stink on him, but he probably don't care either. He's worth $100 million or more, probably more, you know. So what does he care, right? And then Harrison, you know, Harrison again, he was not really even an up-and-coming actor. He'd done a few things, but not super strong. So I understand him being in it, and you know, I can see it even helping him because he did good. You know, it's not his fault the show was bad. It is Michael C. Hall's fault, and you know, the writers and stuff. It is definitely their fault. But so here's kind of my big theory, what could be going on, okay, what I hope is happening, but I'll just get into it. They could have some kind of recompense plan. So this is my 3rd possibility, right? They could have some kind of payback, some kind of secret thing coming. So, I sincerely hope they have a couple of episodes in the can, or maybe a movie that they plan to release. Episodes that do not bring Dexter back to life, because I think that would be super corny and dumb. Dexter is dead, okay? They shot him in the heart. I mean, maybe I don't think you can live through that. They shot him through the heart. He's unconscious on the ground, big blood. Did he fake his death? I sure hope not. I think that would be super stupid unless they really managed to tie it together well. But anyways, episodes that go back and fill in the holes. See, that's how you can bring Dexter back to life, is you can fill in those holes. You can say, okay, this actually happened early in the timeline. This explains this. This explains that. This explains this. And then maybe even go to the end where Batista rolls into town and we get some closure there or something. But anyways, so, one thing that doesn't sit right with me is that if Dexter wanted Harrison to have a normal life, why did he ever send Dexter with Hannah? Hannah was a killer who, easily could have ended up on Dexter's table. So again, we don't really know where Harrison had been or what he'd really been up to until he showed up at Iron Lake. Okay? We only know what he showed us and the stories that he told. And that only happened over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. So we don't really know what Harrison's motives were. I'm toying with the idea that he had some kind of code of his own that was taught to him by Hannah. You see? And that the wounded baby bird thing was an act to get close to people. In this case, Dexter. That Harrison maybe heard about the girls going missing in Iron Lake and stalked Dexter much the way Dexter himself used to track down and investigate his targets. Okay? That's also why Harrison was maybe getting close to Kurt. You see? And that by killing Logan, Dexter ended up fitting the profile for people that Harrison kills with his code. Fitting Harrison's code. And that is why he was so upset and screamed at the end, "Open your eyes and look what you've done." Which ties to the first episode of Dexter, when Dexter screamed that in the face of, the pedophile murderer that he killed, right? Open your eyes and look what you've done. Dexter broke Harrison's code. Maybe. Huh? Wouldn't that be cool if they came out with some kind of recompense, some kind of episodes in the can and said, hey, we're going to plug those holes for you. That to me would be brilliant. But so, I don't know. Does that add up? I don't know. I'm trying to justify how the creators could have ended that New Blood season so disappointingly, so undone, Perhaps they'll brilliantly reveal this with a prequel movie or a couple of episodes that ties everything together and manages to restart the franchise for Harrison. Explain, and then Harrison can follow in his father's footsteps, kind of, and, explain his visiting to Iron Lake, and all that, and I think, that would actually be cool. And one way I may actually be interested in the Harrison spinoff. Either, they could show Harrison's internal monologue in these canned episodes, or, they could show his thought process. They could, show his conniving and hiding and lying and manipulating just the way Dexter used to do with these prequel type episodes, or episodes that fill the holes. That would be cool. That I could get behind, right? And that would totally flip the script on this terrible ending, and would be an ending fitting of this epic franchise. But as it is, as it is right now, I wish the New Blood season never happened at all. I mean, I've got a huge wall of DVDs in my house, more than anybody I've ever met. I mean, way more. And, you know, I'm considering not even buying the DVD for season 9, New Blood, because I'm that upset. It's my favorite show. You know, and of course I will buy the DVDs, and I'll probably watch them when I want to think about what not to ever do in a film, you know, in movies. But, yeah, so it leaves such a putrid stain on the legacy of what was one of the greatest shows in history of television. Hopefully the filmmakers have some plan to rectify it, but again, I am doubtful. I guess we will see. This finale will surely go down as one of the worst in television history, okay? So there's just a couple of more things that I want to go over with you here, really quick, okay? So this doesn't have much to do with the show, but I think it's really interesting. I found an interesting pattern about the people who liked the show and the people that didn't, okay? Most of the people that did like the ending seem to be Democrats, okay? They're the take your vaccines people, the wear your masks people, the pro-choice people, the open borders people, the climate change people, the I love PBS people, the Black Lives Matter people, and so the correlation here is really actually very simple. These are the people that are so easily persuaded by whatever is put in front of them on the screen, okay? Brainwashed people, right? Brain damaged people. You know, people that get frozen on little details and simply repeat as they are told, almost like they're autistic, okay? And I'm not using that word as an insult, okay? That's what autistic people do. They get focused on something and they have a hard time focusing on everything else because it helps them, because otherwise they get overstimulated, right? Well, that's similar to what these people do. And I do not mean that as an insult. It's just what it is. And so, you know, people that can't analyze or put any kind of complex thoughts together, seriously, you know, the people that are still stuck in Plato's cave looking at the wall, right? The people that blame you of misunderstanding when in reality you're 10 steps ahead of them and couldn't think as slow as them if you tried. People that, you know, cherry pick pieces of information and make it their primary focus and construct an entire reality around it. So, you know, you either know who I'm talking about or who you don't. These are left-leaning people. These are what you call NPCs, people that are just absolutely programmed by, you know, the programming, the television and the internet and all that stuff. If you want to know more about that, there's plenty. I have got plenty of videos on that stuff. But I'm a part of this Facebook group that I got banned from today or blocked from commenting or something because I made a post like that. I said, I'm pretty well convinced that all the people that liked the New Blood finale are people that have a crush on Michael C. Hall. And I said, I can't blame him. He's a pretty good looking guy in a date rapist kind of way. But then I added, and this was a definite troll post I get so excited when I trigger leftists. I just love it so much. And then I just, I did the part about the NPC, and I used the word autistic, which offended a bunch of people, but you should have seen it. I had like 20 or 30 comments in like an hour about, all from leftists, just pissed off. I was so happy, but of course, they all reported me and censored, and so I got censored because that's how it works, right? You know, that's how it works with leftists and censorship. You know, they just they flock to you, they swarm to you, you know, with their offendedness and get you taken down. Very dangerous people. But you know, the only other thing is that there, you know, so there's a media cover up. Oh, actually, I do have one other thought that. Yeah, so I have a theory about, you know, there's a propaganda theme or message about the season that I think is really super interesting. You know, a reason why Dexter was basically miserable and weak and tortured throughout the season and ultimately put to death, okay? You know, and my theory is that right now they don't want any vigilantes, right? There's so much, you know, with the vaccines maiming and murdering people, and you know, all the criminality going on, and really the taking of our rights in this country. I don't think they want to make vigilantes look cool. You know, you should not take anything in your own hands. You should just trust the government. You know, trust those bad guys. Someone's going to handle them for you. You know what I mean? And don't go Dexter on anybody. You know, and the reason I think that is obviously I can't prove that, but was their intentions. But I can tell you that if I was one of them, that's exactly what I would do with Dexter season finale, because that's what they're doing with the entire media right now. Brainwash everything right now in entertainment and media and news and just, you know, the comedy late night shows. It is all hardcore brainwash. And so I think that was probably some propaganda in season 9. And you know, they did have a number of, you know, online paid shills saying, oh, I love the ending and I love the show. Now, not everyone online was doing that, but they definitely had some. They're pretty easy to spot, those guys, because they just, you know, a lot of them have a profile picture of a cat or something, you know, or a cartoon or some weird thing, and you know, they're all leftists if they have actual profiles. And you know, Obama talked about it. You know, his I think he hired 20,000 online shills for his what was it? It's his Obama network or whatever it was. You know, so they just get on the line and try to do damage control for whatever topic it is, whether it's vaccines or, you know, they get on the popular pages and make comments about, oh, I love this, or vaccines, or I just got my vaccine, or, you know, we don't need no walls, or, you know, wear your mask. They're all like, a lot of them I think are like 40s, 50s, 60s Democrats, are all Democrats, and they all, you know, and they're just adding a little income stream. They think, oh, I can get paid and sit online and push the Democrat agenda. Yeehaw! They don't even realize what they're doing, but there are definitely some of them on this Dexter New Blood thing, which I found really interesting. Anyway, so that's all I have. I hope you liked my breakdown of the Dexter series and the finale, and you know, I really wish it didn't end that way, but it appears that that's it. That's the end. I hope they have something planned to plug in those holes or something, because man, it was trash. It was just trash. That New Blood season, the whole season was bad, and then the finale was absolute trash. So, anyways, you like my Dexter shirt? It's the most Dexter shirt I had. So, let's end with a prayer, and then, yeah. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not in temptation. Deliver us from evil. For you are the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Yeah. So that's it. My Dexter wrap-up or review or analysis, whatever you want to call it. I'm Jason Miller, and this is The Truth and Stuff. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you back for another video. Thank you.